The radio is blasting, someone's knocking on the door. The hostess, she's not lasting, she's laying out on the floor. I've seen so many things here I've never seen before. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to see no more. Mama told me not to come. Mama told me not to come. Yeah, she did. She said, honey, that ain't no way to have no fun. Ooh, mama, you knew I would say. Mama told me not to come. Mute. Okay.
Item before me on the revocation of a medical marijuana storefront dispensary permit, and the I just announced that we have an appeal on 118 North Milpas Street. It was a request or a project before me for the revocation of the permit based on a potential change, attempted change or an actual change in the control of the dispensary. And I, after review of the record, I did not suspend or revoke the permit, and a neighbor has appealed that decision, and Planning Commission hearing date has not been set yet. I'd also like to announce that I do have a new liaison. Jay Higgins is the primary Planning Commission liaison, so he'll be reviewing the items and what have you, and in his absence, Leslie Wiscombe is the alternate. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on the agenda? So no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 2904 State Street. And you guys are already up at the table. Stephanie, anytime? Are you ready?
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
So we are here today talking about an interior setback modification. The 8,527 square foot lot at 2904 State Street is currently developed with an 8-unit residential hotel. One of those units is for the manager, and it is also his office. And then the other 7 are for transitional housing for formerly homeless individuals. And the encroachment is for an as-built laundry room. So the 6-foot interior setback is outlined here in purple. And the existing as-built laundry room that we are looking at today is outlined here in orange. The project includes both the legalization of this as-built laundry room and storage area, as well as site work, including restriping the parking lot, doing some re-roofing, window and door replacement as necessary, and also legalization of as-built bar sinks that are in each of the residential units. The structure was originally developed as a hotel, but was recognized by the city as a residential hotel in 2010. At that time, planning staff reviewed the bar sinks and determined that they could remain, however, they would need to be permitted. So it is included in the scope of work on this project. The property was purchased by the Housing Authority in 2011 and is currently being managed by Willbridge Housing. The project has been reviewed by the Architectural Board of Review and received positive comments, with them especially noting that the laundry room would be an amenity for the residents. And the project can be found exempt from CEQA under categorical exemptions 15301, 15304, and 15305. And staff is supportive of the project, as we believe it is an appropriate improvement on the lot due to it being an amenity for the residents.
Okay, great. I do have a question for you. You say this is a residential hotel versus units. What do you mean by a residential hotel? And why is there not cooking facilities in it, or what?
There are bar sinks, but they're they're not full kitchens except for in the manager's unit.
Okay, so do we? Okay, I'm not quite. I'm confused by your term with a residential hotel. So the stays are less than 30 days?
No, the property used to be a hotel.
Right.
After we bought the property, it's being used as a housing.
Actually, do you want to state your name for the record?
My name is Miguel Garcia. I'm with the Housing Authority. The property, obviously, at one point was in a hotel. When we purchased it, it was converted to low-income housing. So these are like studios, and they do not have cooking facilities except a microwave or perhaps a toaster. But all these units are just being rented as studios.
So they meet more of our definition of efficiency units?
I'm not exactly sure what your definition is,
okay.
but yeah.
All right, just smaller units with...
Microwave,
type thing.
apartment-sized
Yeah.
refrigerator. And
Can you spell your name?
Miguel Garcia, Miguel.
All right, thank you. All right, then you want to state your name for the record?
Dwight Gregory.
Okay. So then when you say they're affordable, are they affordable by covenant or just affordable due to the operator of the facility?
Operator of the facility.
Okay, so there's no recorded covenant? Okay. Did you want to, those are just my questions now. Did you want to present to your new president?
Stephanie did a good job. I don't have anything else to say.
Okay. I do have, I can open the public hearing. Is there anybody here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 2904 State Street? No, see no one. Have we received any emails or phone calls?
There have been no comments. I did just want to show for the record this photo here. This guy right here is the as-built laundry room.
Okay. So I'll close the public hearing. There's also involved in here is the storage units in the back. Here's one. What is the storage area used for? Who uses it? Here we go. So here's the side. So this is the laundry room here, and then here's the storage, and here's another storage building.
As far as I know, this is just storage for either residents or for the manager. I haven't been in there, so I don't know what's inside.
It's mainly for the residents, items like brooms, things for the units. Nothing out of the ordinary there that's being stored.
Okay. Now, I was reading your letter and the site plan, and can you describe what's going to occur? These are thick lines, so is this going to be demolished and rebuilt?
No, the solid lines represent as built, and this is how it is right now, and the plan is to just let it remain as is.
Not stucco it or anything? Isn't there?
Yeah, you're right. It will be, part of what's going to happen is where there is wood siding, it will be removed and there will be stucco. And this currently has wood siding, so yes, it will be restuccoed, plus there will be a new roof on it.
New roof? Okay. Now, in terms of the stats here, it says there's existing 8 are here, required uncovered is 8, proposed uncovered parking 6 standard, 1 van accessible. And this parking lot doesn't show any of this. There's 7 spaces here, so how is this going to be changed, and has transportation staff reviewed it?
Actually, I did not correct this. The van accessible space needs to be removed in this description.
So what has...
So this is the current layout, and that's how it will be restriped.
Okay, did transportation staff review this? Because you're proposing the trash and recycle here to open into the parking space?
I haven't reviewed it with them, and I doubt that they have reviewed it.
Okay, because they'll have issues with this. This won't be allowed.
Yeah, okay.
Or allowed. Then the other, so they haven't reviewed it. And so it's really actually supposed to be just 7, so it's non-conforming to parking?
Correct.
Okay, because I was trying to find out where the existing other 8 space is here, and if it was in a setback or not. All right. Okay, I went out to the site, and I couldn't see back in here, but there's adequate photos, and I can tell by the aerials, I could see what's in here, and I could look through the cracks. The reason why I was asking for if this was a covenant affordability or not, the findings are several. That it's consistent with the general purposes of this title or the specific purposes of the zoning district in which the project's located. That's the main one, and then there's the next 4 are ORs, and it says secure an appropriate improvement on the lot, prevent unreasonable hardship due to the physical characteristics, result in a development that is generally consistent with existing patterns of development for the neighborhood, and then the last one is construct a housing development containing affordable residential units rented or owned and occupied in a manner provided for in the city's affordable housing policies and procedures. So that's why I was requesting that. One of the concerns with interior yard setback modification requests is the interactions between the 2 property lines and what is this proposed use. This is the neighbor next door, and it is 2-story residential. And I think on this plan, it shows. Oh, I guess not. There's the door, and that's their outside area. So there is a concern of the noise and the activity that's in this area, because the existing building is outside of the setback, and these as-built improvements are. So to see if it's an appropriate improvement on a lot, or if it's consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance, that's the question I'm trying to answer. Because in terms of laundry rooms, it could be noisy with the laundry room going, storage going in and out, and that kind of thing. I looked at your window plan, and there's a window here in the laundry room and here, and the nice thing is the door's here and there's a door here. These appear to be proposed as being operable windows. Would you have an issue if I required them to be inoperable?
I wouldn't.
There's other ways that you can get the venting requirements.
Can you go to the next plan, the next sheet? I think that the other one's storage. So you're talking about this one. So the
Yes.
laundry room is here.
Yeah.
So there's only one window.
Right.
So this one, there's nothing happening here, right?
No, that's why I was asking about, is it going to be demolished or not? This represents,
Okay.
but I understand it's representing new walls because it's as built, not that because it's going to be demolished and built
Correct.
new. Because the other concern is having the door facing out towards the neighbor versus on this side of the
Okay.
wall. And I don't know what's the possibility of relocating this door to be on this side so that's it's facing this storage building, and then this can just be an inoperable window
Yeah.
there.
It's possible.
It's possible?
And the other thing is that we could also make hours for the laundry to be open.
Okay.
So we don't want no one perhaps in the middle of the night making noise for the
Okay.
neighbors. So that's another possibility.
So if I said like 7 to 9?
Yeah, whatever. We should be consistent with other properties that we own, that we, specifically for noises or for noise, that's what we do. So we can pick up whatever is more convenient.
What hours are your typical hours?
Usually, there should be no one doing the laundry room between 10 at night to 6 in the morning or 7.
7. So the hours of the laundry room, I would be comfortable saying 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah. That should reduce any possible. So far, we've been lucky that our neighbors we haven't heard any complaints, which is a good thing.
Yeah, there's different thoughts of that. If someone moves into the neighborhood and it's an existing situation, they just live with it. They don't realize it's an as-built situation, so they don't know to complain. But in the converse is that if it was really obnoxious, whether or not it's legal or not, they'll complain.
Okay.
So, you can't really use that as a reasoning that it is consistent with a residential neighborhood, because some people just figure, well, it's existing, it was permitted that way. And then others just say, I don't care if it's permitted or not, it's an annoyance. Okay, and then also when I was out on the site, and Stephanie has big pictures, but I also took pictures. This is along the back here. And all this is all in the parking area. It needs to be removed. It's conflicting with the parking, the tent, someone's outdoor living area, and then there's a corral
Dog
or
room
a
for a
kennel.
dog, yeah.
And then I think this is like a trailer type thing. I think there was wheels on it. There's just stuff all over. And then also there's another kennel up here. All those need to be removed.
Okay.
It's all a violation. This needs to be.
Sure. I didn't even know about that.
Oh, that's a new one. I knew about these,
Uh-huh.
but that one's a new one.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
marking. So getting back to the findings, the proposed use, it's a valuable amenity for the city and for the tenants too. It provides a housing opportunity to help people get back on their feet, and so in that regard, it's consistent with the zoning ordinance, the general plan, and the policies of the city. In regards to the requested modification, I agree with staff's conclusion, and the Willbridge.
Willbridge?
Willbridge's desire to provide an on-site laundry facility for the residents, that is an appropriate use. That's something that is supportable. And with the conditions that the windows that are directly facing or the adjacent property, as well as the relocation of the door, that reduces any potential conflicts. And the fact that it is for the residents' storage of miscellaneous items, it's probably not a high volume in and out. And in addition, there is a gate here
Okay.
which limits access to that area. So
With a lock.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
That's right.
yeah, so all that reduces the potential for the conflicts for the neighbors. So I would be supportive of the project, but I would like to change the finding. It says, the second part of it, that the proposed laundry and storage room is appropriate because it would provide an amenity for the existing affordable transitional housing to assist the formerly homeless residents gain additional independence. And I would like to strike the second part. It's not that it's not true. It's just findings reflect the city's goals and how the project is consistent with the zoning ordinance. So I'll just strike that second part and then add in the fact, because I will put it as a condition, that the windows would be inoperable, the door would be relocated. There's limited controlled access to that area. And just to outline the thought process is why in this instance that this particular modification is appropriate. And so I can make that finding. The conditions is, like we discussed, the windows within the as-built storage and laundry room shall be inoperable, and that the door to the as-built storage room shall be relocated to the north elevation of the storage area. And that I'm putting the condition that within 30 days of today's action, both dog kennels, the canvas tent, all miscellaneous use items, junk and rubbish, so all this miscellaneous stuff, as well as the trailer, this shall be removed from the required setbacks in the parking lot, and then also show compliance with that condition on the plan. So it could just be a little bubble, tent removed, kennel removed, just to show. So then when the inspector goes out, it's verified that it's still removed. And then also adding the hours of the laundry facility, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then I don't think I need a condition regarding transportation staff review of this, but they will review of it. And it's just kind of like an FYI. You might want to check before you submit for building permit just to make sure that'll just make it more smooth when you get in there. So with that, with the revised findings and those added conditions, can approve your project. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt that this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those actions would happen, Stephanie would contact you.
Okay.
Okay? Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, too. I appreciate that.
The next item is 1035 Coyote Road. If the applicant would like to come up. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Sorry. Anytime you're ready, Stephanie.
Good morning again. We are now talking about a front setback modification at 1035 Coyote Road. The proposed project would convert an existing accessory structure to a single-family residence. There would also be a proposed residential addition as well as a carport addition. And so the front setback modification is for converting this existing structure outlined here in orange to a residence, as well as portions of the residential addition and the carport being located in the front setback. The lot is a 25,177 square foot lot, and it's subject to a 35-foot front setback from the right-of-way, and that is shown here in yellow. And the lot is also subject to a creek setback. The top of bank is outlined in purple, and the Creeks Division has reviewed and approved this project with a 10-foot setback for structural development. There is an eave of the proposed residence that encroaches into that 10-foot setback, and Creeks staff has reviewed that and said that that is okay. They have also reviewed the carport, and originally this project was proposed with a garage, and Creeks staff said that they would not be supportive of a garage, but they would be supportive of a carport, and so the project was changed to have a carport rather than a garage. And the project was reviewed by the Single Family Design Board with positive comments, noting the size, bulk, and scale was appropriate for the neighborhood. The environmental analyst has reviewed this project and they agree that it can be found exempt from CEQA under 15183. However, we do have that required finding that's included in the staff report. And the environmental analyst recommended including a landscape plan requirement that would be consistent with the wildland fire plan, and the SFDB would review and approve that after the modification process. Staff is supportive of this project due to the constraints of the lot, such as the front setback and the top of Bank Creek setback, pushing the development towards this front corner of the lot. The project includes conversion of a non-conforming structure, and the proposed residential addition would encroach no farther than the existing into the front setback. And transportation and creek staff have reviewed the carport location and confirmed its supportability. However, staff would like to add an additional recommended condition of approval, noting that the carport could not be converted to a garage without Creek's review and approval.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't think I have any questions for you right now. Would you like to state your name for the record?
Rick Starnes, I'm the architect. I would just like to point out also that this Coyote Road here has a very unusually large right-of-way of 40 feet. So, and the fact that we are also removing some as-built structures that are in the setback too. And we have been working, like Stephanie said, quite a bit with creeks to accommodate them, although even though this is not a creek on our property. We've worked quite a few months actually going back and forth with them. But it is a 3/4 acre property, and you can see we're limited to this little corner of it, and only 53%, I believe it is, of the allowable FAR. And that's, we've been working hard to build something that's reasonable within this little corner of the property.
Yeah, I remember this came before the staff hearing officer. I was acting as staff hearing officer for another addition that was adding in here. And there was a carport involved. Were you the architect with that?
I was. What we were trying to do then, the current owners were just trying to make sure that this could be converted to a single-family residence before they purchased the property. So we came before you before just saying that, yeah, if we convert this to a residence and put a carport here, was that going to be acceptable? And so we found out we were headed in the right direction, so they went ahead and purchased the property and then wanted to make some additional improvements.
So was the garage that I reviewed before in the same location?
Exactly. It was
Okay.
a carport, yes.
I'm sorry, yes, there was a carport in that situation too.
Right.
And remind me why the carport can't be moved. I know it would get closer in the front setback, but moved to meet the 10-foot setback.
Well, I'm sorry, it actually was closer. It was actually right where the existing accessory structure is now, right on the top of slope. And so creeks kept wanting us to push it more and more. And as you can see, the grades climb quite a bit here. So this is about 5 feet above the driveway. So we're already pushing the garage as far as we can. We're retaining against this existing hill now. And the existing drive approach is here, so it just makes sense to have the carport right there. And obviously, this is our front yard to the home. The front door's right here, so we have pushed it against that hill as much as I think is possible.
And this is all, there's a lot of lines here, but this is all open right in the paving. You come here, and you can come down to the yard, but...
Up to the yard. This is higher.
I'm sorry, yeah, up to the yard.
Right.
And then, what's this? Is this existing something?
Yes, that's existing paving patio to the front door of the existing structure.
Okay.
That's brick, yeah. Existing bricks.
Okay. This area right here. But it's being changed a little bit. Looks like it's a walkway. Okay, those are my questions for right now.
Can I ask questions? Or do I do that later?
I can open the public hearing.
Okay, I didn't know if I was.
That's fine, no, that's fine. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to address the staff hearing officer on this item? You can come up to the table and push the mic on.
Jay Higgins, I was just curious about.
Push.
Jay Higgins, I was just curious about the creek setback is based on what?
Stephanie?
It's not a 50-foot setback, right? It's something different than what we
Correct.
normally see?
No, so it's not a codified creek setback like the Mission Creek setback. This project was reviewed, and initially they were asking for a 15-foot setback, and Creeks was. And then it went back and forth, and they were looking at the design and the constraints of the lot, and they agreed on a 10-foot setback, allowing the carport to encroach into that 10-foot. No problem.
And now, to Stephanie, a further question. This it's a creek or a drainage channel, or what's the designation? Is it, I know there's different levels of, do you know that?
Can I
I'm sure
answer
you've had a
that?
lot of
Yes.
discussion with Creeks Department.
This is not
Or
an
division.
official creek, and actually, this drainage well starts on our property right here. The neighbor's property here has graded over, their driveway and house is over the top of this swell, and so there's a pipe underneath their driveway that empties out into this drainage swell. So the swell starts at our property and eventually gets to what is officially Coyote Creek, I believe, but it's not an official creek.
The term that Creeks used to describe it was a small natural creek/tributary.
Okay, so it's a tributary to Coyote. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you. I'll close the public hearing. This site it's severely constrained in terms of the right-of-way, because the traveled road is way in this area. So, in terms of the right-of-way, I'm not sure if the city would ever have any plans to actually improve the right-of-way in this area. And so, although it is within the front setback, it is quite a distance away from the edge of the travelway. In regards to request and modification, front setback modifications, they're typically reviewed. They're reviewed more, well, I review them more stringently or more, globally, because although it is private property, it's part of the public setting and the street frontage. And so the types of improvements that you're proposing within the front setback, have more of a potential for off-site impacts. And so when I look at what you're proposing to do, there's an existing building that was permitted as a storage or accessory use, and proposing to convert it and to add on to the addition. The majority of the addition is behind the house and away from the creek, top of the creek bank. In regards to the carport does come a little closer than the house, but it's an open type structure. And so, and it provides the covered parking for the residents. So, the project, like I said, it's severely constrained. Although it is a large lot, really the developable area is this small corner of it. It has the creek coming through, it has the right-of-way, it has an interior setback, that all you're trying to squeeze it in one area. So given all the constraints, it is appropriate to ask for some type of relief from one of the setbacks. And in this situation, since it is more rural and there is the large setback, it's more appropriate, I believe, in this sense, to push it towards the street versus towards your neighbor's property. So I could be supportive of your request, but I do have a couple of conditions that I would want to put on the project. One is to put the recommendation of the Creeks Division regarding the 10-foot setback from the top of creek bank, have that be a condition of approval. So that is something that makes the modification supportable, in that there is a setback between the creek bank and the side. And then Stephanie had indicated that that this carport, she's proposing a condition that the carport, what did you say it was? Not converted?
Not be converted to a garage without Creeks Division review and approval.
Okay, so I'm going to refine it just a little bit more. Reading the staff report, I was proposing this one, that the proposed carport shall remain unenclosed and shall not be converted to an enclosed garage due to potential impacts to the creek. So I'm just going to add in there without further review. The proposed carport shall remain unenclosed and shall not be converted to an enclosed carport without further review and approval by city. And more generic than just Creeks Department, because Creeks Division would be one, and then also you would need to go through design review, and there'd be other city processes that you would need to do. And then the condition regarding the landscape plan, I want to add more of when. It just says that one's required. So I just was going to change it to a landscape plan consistent with policies and guidelines outlined in the wildfire plan shall be reviewed and approved by the Single-Family Design Board. Said landscape plan shall be included in the scope of work submitted for a building permit for this project. So that that's not just submitted. Oh, and that's actually the question you had answered in the hearing, that prior to application for a building permit. Okay, so with those three conditions, I could make the findings, but again, I'd like to change finding number 2 to add more discussion on why this project is supportable and why the findings can be made. So I was going to recognize the steep slopes, the fact that the creek, the tributary, bisects the property, the 40-foot area, the 40-foot right-of-way area along the front property line, so that those are some of the constraints of why the front setback modification would be appropriate. And then also recognize that the proposed development is consistent with the pattern of development in the neighborhood, and that although the building is located within a front setback, the habitable areas of the addition would not encroach further into the front setback than the existing nonconforming accessory structure. And then recognize the fact that the project would continue to provide an 8 to 10 foot buffer from the top of the creek bank. So with that revised finding and those added conditions, I could approve your requested front setback modification. And again, my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt that warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period. And if either of those would happen, Stephanie would contact you.
Okay.
Okay?
Good. Thank you.
Great, thanks. I adjourn the meeting.